I will never apologize for standing up for an LGBTQ2 plus kids' rights.
Welcome back. My name is Mark Nixon, and do I ever have a show for you? We're going to kick things off with Pierre Poilievre's London rally. Then, Justin Trudeau sheds tears for the very last time. Oh, hallelujah. And Mark Carney, a civilian, becomes an unelected Prime Minister of Canada. And don't believe all of the polling numbers online. Sometimes they're all hype. And a former Liberal MP has something to say about Mark Carney. Let's not waste any time. Let's go. We're going to start things off with Pierre Poilievre had a rally in London, and man, was it packed. They actually had to turn people away because it was overloaded. Look at all those people. Check out these photos of the rally, and now that's what I'm talking about. Thousands. Now let's take a look at the Liberal leadership race. There was 151,899 people that voted for the Liberal leadership race. That is like 0.3% of the entire population of Canada. That is nothing. And check this out. Mark Carney got 131,674 votes for 86% of the total votes compared to the rest of the candidates. Chrystia Freeland was in second, but she only got 8% of the total vote. Look at Karina Gold, 3.2, and Frank Baylis got 3%. Where is Ruby Dalla? Because these other candidates were basically a no-show. Nobody voted for them. So if the Liberals actually wanted to have a leadership race, they would have had Chandra and Ruby Dalla to make it actually interesting, because this was basically a non-leadership race. Take a look at the numbers. And this is a reminder not to believe all of the polling numbers in Canada. You remember how the Liberals are surging and they're going to win a potentially majority government in Canada? Well, check out mainstream polling. They had Mark Carney at 43% of the vote. Karina Gold with 16%. Chrystia Freeland with 31%. Frank Baylis with 3%. That's the only one that they got right. Like, go back to here. Yeah, so when you're looking at the polling numbers and you're like, uh-oh, the Liberals might have a majority government, just a reminder, and these are, Mainstream is one of the polling, and this is a reminder for sure. A former Liberal MP exposes Mark Carney, and you are not going to want to miss this one. This was an exclusive interview on Northern Perspective. If you want to watch the entire interview, I'd go over there on their YouTube channel and watch the entire thing. We're just going to take a look at this small clip.
He's the worst person to deal with this. And if you don't like what Justin Trudeau's done, you're going to hate what he did. He's Justin Trudeau 2.0. He's the man that's been behind the green grift and the green scam that has hurt the Canadian economy and has hurt Canadians generally, while at the same time doing nothing except furthering the interests of a handful of individuals who've decided maybe it's a good idea to get our companies to invest in Brazil, the Middle East, and build pipelines there while blocking them here in Canada. And now Canada finds itself with a tariff war in which our so-called trump card is oil and gas. Imagine if we had a couple pipelines that people like Mark Carney weren't so prepared to definance and to block. We'd have options to sell to other countries who would definitely take, because there is a business case, like what Trudeau says, for natural gas and oil. Countries like, I know, South Korea, Germany, Latvia, Lithuania, Greece. I mean, the list goes on. The number of countries that came to Canada, we said, no, there's no business case. Look, I mean, I have nothing personally against Mr. Carney, but to believe that a guy with, has had to leave his job here in Canada, go to Britain, and then find himself head of an organization called GFANZ, the Global Financial Alliance for Net Zero, now being subject to rumors and potentially pursuit of concerns by U.S. antitrust of cartelization of the investment sector. I think it's very, very serious. We have banks now walking away from it in Canada and saying this is really very, very bad. Not just because Donald Trump was elected, because in of itself, last year when the Biden administration was in power, there was this feeling that this would treat, and it would definitely invite an antitrust investigation in which, unlike Canada, where our Competition Bureau, having worked on this thing for over 10 years, is really very hard to prove any type of illegal activity. In the United States is based on balance of probabilities, which is basically a civil case. And if you are seen, as Mr. Carney, his group, as trying to stifle capital from getting to the oil and gas sector, you are going to be subjected to triple damages. So if the damage is $4 billion, it's triple. You're going to be subject to a $12 billion, lawsuit, and it will be enforceable. So that's why I think a lot of these smart banks and investment companies have walked away from this place like a bad smell, and that's Mark Carney's legacy. But I don't want to get beyond that, because I think I want to see how much rope he's willing to sell himself in order to hang himself, because I think the Liberal Party has a real problem. They need, at the very least, to get rid of the Mark Carneys and the Stephen Guilbeaults and others like that who have done much damage to the economy and who represent the past 10 years, not the next 10 years.
Yeah. So this is, what do you say about that? That's straight up. Mark Carney is a danger to the Canadian economy. And this is a former Liberal coming out and speaking about it. We have another clip that I want to show you. This one's even more telling.
What, cutting through everything, what should Canadians really be afraid of with Mark Carney?
Well, trying to find where this party finds itself on the spectrum has it at the far left. It isn't the center where we were, and it wasn't a party that pursued socialism. But this is a party that, and its apparent would-be leader, Mark Carney, would like to see systems like social credit. So in other words, reduce the standard of living in the country, have people driving around on bicycles in their 15-minute cities, which is why Stephen Guilbeault supported him. Impose on Canadians hardship, the likes of which they are starting to experience and they don't like, while at the same time the rest of the world is passing us by, watching our economic performance, our GDP per capita drop to the lowest levels among OECD countries inevitably. This is a man who represents continuity of bad policy. This is the face, the man behind the curtains, if you will, operating the levers on Justin Trudeau. So as the country has declined, a lot of people ask, well, where's this coming from? From a man who obviously had very little interest in investing in Canada, a lot more interest in making sure that the things he doesn't like are invested abroad, whether he's a technocrat or not. I think it's important because he tries to present himself as being something that he clearly is not. He has no common sense of what people are going through. He is a person who has been lifted on a silver spoon, and I take nothing away from the fact that he's probably very talented at what he does, but he's not right suited for what is required in politics, and that's the ability to understand ordinary person's struggles. He doesn't get it. In fact, he's had everything to do with making the life and the ordeal of most Canadians that much more arduous and difficult. And so for that reason, he is an easier target, in my view, than Justin Trudeau. We know Trudeau was a bit of a goof, never really all he had was the last name, but he's done some really dumb things. Mark Carney is very unapologetic. The very fact that he has Gerald Butts and Katie Telford and the same group of Liberals behind Justin Trudeau behind him, that should be an alarm, as well as his wife. And I don't like to bring in, our backgrounds, but his wife is part of the Eurasia group, part of the most militant of climate, catastrophists out there, Diane Fox, I should say, Carney. There's no doubt in my mind, these people are committed to their green agenda, which it does not include human beings in terms of their ability to make ends meet unless they're prepared to accept a significant decline in their standard of living according to what they think. This is another form of authoritarianism on a level that Canadians are unfamiliar with. And if democracy doesn't matter with them, as it appears to be the case in the Liberal Party today, we have a parliament that hasn't functioned since September. By order of the Speaker, the Liberals have refused to divulge information about their green slush fund. That's money that you and I, our children, our grandchildren will have to pay for years to come, that have been divested to make these green grifters very, very rich. The fact that the government is protecting all of that while at the same time changing a leadership, which is going to have pretty much the same policy, while at the same time not bringing Parliament back and not giving the will of the people to give its stamp of imprimatur on what the government is doing, suggests to me this is a government that doesn't really care about people, doesn't have to worry about people, and of course is acting in a way that is totally anathema to our institutions and our public approval of the kind of direction the country is taking. Mark Carney is going to be a real problem for Canada. And the sooner we get to having an honest discussion about him, rather than his trolls making him look out like he's something that is the greatest thing since sliced bread, is going to be a real challenge, I think, not just for Conservatives, but for folks like me who have been long-standing Liberals, many of us sitting in the wings. And we are not holding back. We are pouncing on this man because he's extraordinarily dangerous for this country.
Yeah, you're going to want to share this video with every single person you know. Dan was bang on everything he just said. I agree with him absolutely. Mark Carney is absolutely one of the most dangerous people, and now he is an elected Prime Minister of Canada, and his green agenda is going to make everyone broke and homeless, and he doesn't care because he doesn't live like the common people. Before I show you Mark Carney's coronation, Justin Trudeau's was on CPAC live, and it was only garnering 1,000 viewers. That is it. Like, it is just, I guess people didn't want to see his final speech. They just had enough. And yeah, here we go. We got Justin Trudeau providing his last tears as Prime Minister of Canada. Thank the guy upstairs. I never want to see those tears ever again. Here's a little bit of Justin Trudeau's speech. I'm not going to bore you guys. You can just see it for a little bit, and we're going to move on.
How's the Liberal Party doing tonight? Now, sit down. Now, I can imagine that you're all expecting me to stand up and talk about all that we've accomplished together. And don't get me wrong, I am damn proud of what we've done over these past 10 years. For the middle class and people working hard to join it. But tonight is about our future as a party.
Yeah, the middle class has been destroyed under Justin Trudeau in the last 10 years.
As Liberals, as a government, often get criticized by our friends for not taking a victory lap after we get something big done. We do something really big, and then we move on right away to the next challenge. Because as progressives, as Liberals, we know there's always
Give me a
more
break.
to do. So it is important to take the time to reflect on and share the big successes. But not tonight. Not tonight, Canadians. Not by defining ourselves.
All right, let's fast forward.
Not, but by proudly embracing who we are. We're a country that knows that standing up for everyone's fundamental rights is the only way to protect our freedom.
Oh, great.
That believes no one should be left behind and that everyone should have a real and fair shot at success. We're a country that refuses to accept the false choice between a strong economy and a healthy environment. We're a country that embraces reconciliation and Indigenous peoples as true partners because it is the only path to a shared, prosperous future. To be who they want to be, to pray as they pray, and love whom they love.
I don't know about that. Look at all the churches that's burned down across Canada.
We're a country that will always defend a woman's right to choose.
There, that's what I was waiting for everybody to hear. Give it a break.
We'll be diplomatic when we can, but fight when we must, elbows up.
But God. All right, and let's see. Here's the Mark Carney announcement.
My father, your new Liberal leader, and the 24th Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney. Merci.
Here's Mark Carney becoming the Prime Minister of Canada. And what pisses me off is my favorite number is 24, and his name's Mark. But no, I'm pissed today. This was not a leadership race. It was a coronation, and here we have it. Then we have Mark Carney's first speech as prime minister attacking Pierre Poilievre, saying that if Pierre Poilievre becomes a prime minister of Canada, he's going to let the entire planet burn, followed by a word salad. Let's take a look.
Poilievre would let our planet burn.
Oh, man, you hear people
This is
booing.
not leadership. It's ideology. It's ideology that betrays what we as Canadians value, each other. It's an ideology that also represents a fundamental misunderstanding of how the economy works. Now, unlike Pierre Poilievre, I've actually worked in the private sector.
Man, I can't continue for you guys. It's so bad. But you know what? Let the planet burn. So even if Canada, we have the second largest forest on planet Earth, and to the Liberals, none of that forest absorbs any CO2, not a drop. But let's just say we got to net zero. The US is still pumping out CO2. China is pumping out tons of CO2. They have 3,700 coal-fired power plants, and they're just going to continue to spew. And we are selling coal to China. You know, if we sold our natural gas to China, guess what? We would literally be at net zero, below net zero, 3 times lower than net zero, because natural gas burns 50% less CO2 than coal. I love this one. The Pleb Reporter published this. Pierre Poilievre's rally had more people than the Liberal leadership convention. This is freaking hilarious. And guess who is talking about this? It's on CBC.
And Pierre Poilievre did hold a rally today that was
right
bigger
here.
than what we had here. It was more than 2,000 people, and it was his regular Canada First rally
Bigger.
that he's holding now.
I absolutely love it. The mainstream media comes out with these polls, and they say that Mark Carney is the most trustworthy person to lead Canada against Donald Trump. Well, check out this poll by David Coletto. Who would you trust to captain a ship through the rough storm that we have ahead? And guess what? Pierre Poilievre got 80% of the vote with 18,320 votes. I did a poll this morning. I asked, who has more testosterone? Justin Trudeau, Mark Carney, a soy latte with almond milk, or a woke mob? And 91% said a soy latte with almond milk. Oh, and you're going to love this one. On CBC, Fred Delorre calls Trudeau a terrible prime minister on CBC, and Rosie practically faints. And you got to check this out. This is hilarious.
Who brought it from 35 seats when you folks worked there to majority government. And then he won 2 more elections. Like, he is a good campaigner. He was a good Liberal leader. I think he was a terrible prime minister, as none of you guys would be surprised to hear me say.
Really?
Terrible,
That's harsh.
absolutely.
Okay.
He accumulated more debt than all other 22 prime ministers combined before him.
That's true.
And I know he's had some issues to deal with COVID and other, but he blew the doors off of us in terms of our our
hinges
fiscal,
off the door.
I also believe under his leadership, Canada's become much more divided. He's supposed to be this uniter, this sunny ways. He was a wedge issue politician at a very aggressive rate. And the last thing is the economy and where we are now, and where Mark Carney is about to be coronated as leader and said himself a few weeks ago, the Canadian economy is weak. We are dealing with the Trump issue because we have a weak economy here.
We're in
We
a
have issues that
vibe
we need to
session.
deal with.
Remember that,
We're
Canada?
not in a good position, and it's because of the last 9 years of his government.
I think, though, I'll let my Liberal friends push back, but I do think that there is a recognition from Mark Carney that the economy is not where it should be.
Well,
right? Like,
yeah, he said it was a
has
weak.
said that.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what you said. Okay.
He himself said the economy is bad. Now, he's been an economic advisor for the last 5 years, so I'm not sure where
Exactly. For the
it
last
sits.
5 years, he's been advising the Trudeau government.
Go there, Fred?
Oh, look, I think you're right. It's 20 to 30 years is
Unbelievable.
when
And
we'll be
it
able to
just
actually
continues
tell
on.
What has he done that is long-lasting?
All right. That's all for me today. This has been a great show. Make sure you subscribe, because I'm going to be pumping out lots of YouTube videos. I have officially purchased all the equipment. I'm excited to roll out this YouTube page. It is going to be a ton of fun. Till next time.